Some 1.1 billion people in developing countries have inadequate access to water. 2.6 billion people lack basic sanitation. Some 1.8 million children die each year as a result of diarrhea. Fresh water makes up a very small fraction of all water on the planet. While nearly 70% of the world is covered by water, only 2.5% of it is fresh. The rest is saline and ocean-based. Even then, just 1% of our fresh water is easily accessible, with much of it trapped in glaciers and snowfields. In essence, only 0.007% of the planet's water is available to fuel and feed its 6.8 billion people. Water is life. Wherever they are, people need water to survive. The United Nations, which plays an active role in the world to protect and manage water resources, say that every country has to take an active role in preserving water basins for the future generations.
Well, there are certain areas that are really drought, like very dry. So the water management in those areas has to be in a different type. And there are certain areas like we have all kind of floodings and different other related water issues. And there are certain areas where there are a lot of industrial pollution. So that those areas the water management is a different way you need to have.
According to experts, Sri Lanka is far from being affected by a water crisis. However, if the country does not manage its water resources, the island nation will be no exception.
Sri Lanka, I don't think there's a problem. I think what we have got is a challenge, because we are in tropics. We have plenty of rain coming through monsoons and all that. Luckily, we have 103 river basins taking water all over the place, and significant amount of recharging of our groundwater. But the management of that is a problem.
Urgently resolving key issues such as access to safe water, efficient and sustainable use is likely to involve a number of actors, including governments, corporations, activists and local people who directly feel the implications of decisions made in fancy corporate offices and luxurious international meeting venues. Without understanding or common goals, the environment, the lives of people, and prospects for a healthy future are at risk. Rasooldeen reporting with Zulfick Farzan, the Newsfirst, Colombo. 443 million school days are lost each year from water-related illness. Millions of women spend several hours a day collecting water. Lack of water means loss of school time for many children across the globe. According to the United Nations, water use has grown at more than twice the rate of population increase in the last century. By 2025, an estimated 1.8 billion people will live in areas plagued by water scarcity, with 2/3 of the world's population living in water-stressed regions as a result of use, growth and climate change. While the amount of fresh water on the planet has remained fairly constant over time, continually recycled through the atmosphere and back into our cups, the population has exploded. This means that every year competition for clean supply of water for drinking, cooking, bathing and sustaining life intensifies. The United Nations says that water-based pollution has resulted in a number of disease spreading in the developing world.
Well, if you talk about the quality of life, I think that's the biggest impact. Say if you have a kid who is sick because you consume something with pollution, and then the whole family, because your kids can't go to school, you can't go to work, and then it scaled up to the national level.
The chairman of the National Water Supply and Drainage Board, the state institution that is vested with the responsibility of distributing clean drinking water to the general public, says that waste management should be streamlined to ensure that the existing water resources are protected.
Other challenges that we have facing is the water pollution by agrochemicals and pesticides and weedicides that used in agriculture sector. This is prevalent in north central provinces and the eastern provinces. So this is another one challenge. So we are working with the Agriculture Ministry and the Ministry of Irrigation and Water Management to sort out these issues.
Due to geography, climate, engineering, regulation and competition for resources, some regions seem relatively flush with fresh water, while others face drought and debilitating pollution. According to experts, the challenge the globe faces now is how to effectively conserve, manage and distribute the water we have without contributing to its pollution. The health and economic impacts of today's global water crisis are staggering. It's time to act now for a better tomorrow. Rasooldeen reporting with Zulfick Farzan for Newsfirst, Colombo. Oil, you might think it is the most precious resource in the world, the reason that many nations have come to battle. However, for much of the developing world, including the Middle East, water is more precious. According to the United Nations, with rapid population growth and increased industrial demand, water withdrawals have tripled over the last 50 years. Of all the water on Earth, 97% is salt water and the remaining 3% is fresh, with less than 1% of the planet's drinkable water readily accessible for direct human use. Scarcity is defined as each person in an area having access to less than 1,000 cubic meters of water a year. The areas where water scarcity is the biggest problem are some of the same places where political conflicts are rife, leading to potentially explosive situations. UN studies project that 30 nations will be water scarce in 2025, up from 20 in 1990. 18 of them are in the Middle East and North Africa, including Egypt, Israel, Somalia, Libya and Yemen. In much of the developing world, clean water is either hard to come by or a commodity that requires laborious work or significant currency to obtain.
Well, one thing is like when people get this perception this water is not good, they know that bad water is bad for health, and so they are willing to pay. But if somebody can guarantee that, some cities they guarantee you can drink out of the tap. But unfortunately in some part of the world, due to our own behavior, the water resources has lost that confidence. If you agree that it's a right, the same people who has the right has to exercise their effort to make sure that you don't pollute yourself.
According to UN experts, water scarcity and potential conflicts arising from it is linked to larger issues of population growth, increasing food prices and global warming. What are the main obstacles to delivering and managing water supplies? Are governments doing enough or too much to protect resources? Is water a commodity or a human right? Some of the questions that need urgent attention. Rasooldeen reporting with Zulfick Farzan for Newsfirst, Colombo. The world is rapidly running out of clean water. Some of the largest lakes and rivers on the globe are being depleted at a very frightening pace, and many of the most important underground aquifers that we depend on to irrigate our crops will soon be gone. At that point, 40% of the entire population of the planet has little or no access to clean water, and it is being projected that by 2025, 2/3 of humanity will live in water-stressed areas. Water is life. The fulfillment of basic human needs, our environment, socio-economic development and poverty reduction are all heavily dependent on water. Good management of water is especially challenging due to some of its unique characteristics. It is unevenly distributed in time and space, the hydrological cycle is highly complex and have multiple effects.
Allocation of water for various competing water users, like the electricity, power generation, you need water, industries, they need water, farmers need water, other people need water for drinking and other purposes, and also environmental requirement of water.
In designating 2013 as the UN International Year of Water Cooperation, the UNGA recognizes that cooperation is essential to strike a balance between the different needs and priorities and share this precious resource equitably, using water as an instrument of peace.
Water holds the key to sustainable development. We must work together to protect and carefully manage this fragile, finite resource. Each year brings new pressures on water. Let us promote water rights, waste less, and design intelligent policies so all users get a fair share. Let us invest in water. Water is life.
Did you know that every 8 seconds, somewhere in the world, a child dies from drinking dirty water? The number increases with each passing second. As the global water crisis gets worse, it is going to affect every single man, woman and child on the planet, and no human being would be spared. It's time to act. Rasooldeen, reporting with Zulfick Farzan for Newsfirst, Colombo.